Donald Trump was found to have illegally profited from habitually inflating the value of his real estate holdings in order to obtain loans at favorable interest rates. He claimed, for example, that Mar-a-Lago was worth $1 to $1.5 billion. In 2020, the county tax assessor valued it at $27 million, and Trump agreed. In his ruling, Judge Arthur Engoron wrote of the defendants, their complete lack of contrition and remorse borders on pathological. Candidate Donald Trump channeled his rage into fundraising.
It reinforces his followers' sense of being in the trenches with him.
Donald Trump New York civil fraud case is just one of many indications that Donald Trump is a fraud. Here we will examine a total of 4 situations that should have notified you that Donald Trump is a complete fraud. From the New York case, where he is now banned from doing business in New York, borrowing any money from any New York institutions because of his fraudulent appraisals of his properties. You also have Donald Trump's selling of the NFTs. You also have Donald Trump scamming his voters with rechargeable boxes marked. You also have Donald Trump scamming charities. You have Donald Trump fraudulent university. Just 4 of many indicators that Donald Trump is a fraudulent person, but the reason why he is so successful with his fraudulent behavior and activity is said best by Lyndon B. Johnson.
If you can convince the lowest white man he is better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pockets. He'll give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you. Lyndon B. Johnson.
A very sad day for, in my opinion, the country.
This is Martha Teichner. As soon as the 92-page ruling in the civil fraud case was posted online Friday afternoon, the ranting began.
They're lunatics, and it's election interfering.
Former President Donald Trump was ordered to pay nearly $355 million. His sons, Donald Jr. and Eric, more than $4 million each. Trump is barred from running his own business or any other in the state of New York for 3 years. His sons for 2 years. And they can't borrow money from any bank registered in New York for 3 years. For a man who brags he's a billionaire business genius, the judgment was a body blow, but not a fatal one.
Much impact.
What they saw him doing yesterday,
you're all sneakerheads,
at SneakerCon in Philadelphia, was unveil, wait for it, his never surrender high tops.
That's the real deal.
A golden emblem of grievance for only $399.
If you can convince the lowest white man he is better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pockets. He'll give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you. Lyndon B. Johnson.
Hello, everyone. This is Donald Trump. Hopefully your favorite president of all time, better than Lincoln, better than Washington, with an important announcement to make. Called Trump Digital Trading Cards. These cards feature some of the really incredible artwork pertaining to my life and my career. It's been very exciting. So doing Zoom calls, a one-on-one meeting, autographing memorabilia, and so much more. We're doing a lot right now. And remember, Christmas is coming, and this makes a great Christmas gift.
If you can convince the lowest white man he is better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pockets. He'll give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you. Lyndon B. Johnson.
One of the grand hypocrisies of the MAGA movement is how often its leaders fleeced the very folks they claim to be fighting for. Case in point, throughout 2020, many Trump supporters thought they were making a one-time donation to the Trump campaign, only to find out later that their bank accounts were being repeatedly drained, leaving some of these so-called forgotten men and women unable to pay their basic bills. The Trump campaign donation site tricked donors with shady language and deceptive pre-checked boxes into making these recurring donations, setting off a flurry of fraud complaints and forced refunds, as first reported by the New York Times.
Last September, Russ Blatt's brother, Stacey, contributed $500 to the Trump campaign. Within a month, Stacey Blatt was bouncing checks, his bank account drained.
We saw the 6 withdrawals of $500 totaling $3,000 that had been taken from his account starting in mid-September. And over the course of a month, they took $3,000.
If you can convince the lowest white man he is better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pockets. He'll give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you. Lyndon B. Johnson.
Russ had become his brother's financial power of attorney due to his brother's failing health. The Blatts realized only then that Stacey was signed up to make recurring donations to the Trump campaign. Stacey Blatt died of cancer in February.
They just kept taking money out until there was no money left.
And Stacey was not alone. A New York Times investigation revealing the alarming extent and reach of a calculated Trump campaign scheme to get supporters signed up for recurring donations by default, and later adding a second pre-check box to double a donor's contribution. According to the Times, the Trump campaign internally called it a money bomb, a tactic that experts say is intentionally designed to be easily overlooked. When supporters contributed online, a yellow box to make a recurring donation came pre-checked, requiring donors who wanted to make a one-time contribution to opt out.
If you can convince the lowest white man he is better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pockets. He'll give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you. Lyndon B. Johnson.
And it wasn't easy to spot.
He didn't remember seeing anything like that. He thought he was giving a one-time $500 donation. It seemed like it was deceitful.
Thousands overlooked it, and the Trump campaign ran with it.
In the fall or the late summer, as the Trump campaign faced financial pressures, they made a really important change, which is they took that box, and instead of taking donations out every month, they began taking them out every week.
Banks and credit card companies have been flooded with calls from donors, the Times reports, leading the Trump campaign and RNC to refund a massive amount of money. The New York Times reporting that from the period of mid-October through December of 2020, the Trump campaign and the RNC made more than 530,000 refunds, amounting to more than $64 million.
If you can convince the lowest white man he is better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pockets. He'll give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you. Lyndon B. Johnson.
We did very well with the fundraising stuff, but a lot of it came in small donations.
The boost of money that came with the recurring donations came when President Trump was in need of it the most, just weeks before the election and short on cash.
So that money that they took from donors through recurring donations really does add up functionally to being a de facto loan with no interest from their own supporters.
And were funded only after the election with funds the campaign collected to promote baseless claims of election fraud.
White America has selected a candidate who is not even eligible to run a charity. He cannot be trusted to do anything that is beneficial to anyone outside of himself in his own home state, because he has been proven to misuse those resources, But these very same white people want to empower him in charge of the United States government. This is how you should know that America is under attack from within.
Breaking news for you at this hour. A federal judge is ordering President Trump to pay $2 million to a series of nonprofit organizations, part of a settlement in a lawsuit that alleges the president misused his own charitable foundation. Ken, tell us more.
Chris, this is the result of a lawsuit filed last June by New York State Attorney General, which alleged a shocking pattern of illegality involving the Trump Foundation, including unlawful coordination with the Trump presidential campaign, repeated and willful self-dealing, and much more. In December, you'll recall, Trump agreed to essentially shutter the foundation as this lawsuit progressed. And now we have essentially a settlement where he's agreeing to pay $2 million. That's a punishment, essentially. And the judge, New York State Supreme Court Justice, in this ruling, upheld many of the AG's findings, saying that Mr. Trump's fiduciary duty breaches included allowing his campaign to orchestrate a fundraiser and allowing his campaign, instead of the charitable foundation, to direct distribution of the funds.
One of the ones I remember the most is the accusation that he bought a 6-foot-tall painting of himself with money from the charitable foundation.
Yeah, and the Washington Post has done great reporting on this. I mean, the allegations are that he used this as a personal piggy bank and a promotional tool and not very much as a charity. And now it appears that the courts in New York have essentially upheld that and punished him for doing that. And there's also a petition to the Bar Association to ban Donald Trump from ever again running a charity in New York. And in any other presidency, on any other day, this would be a huge story. Today, it's one of many stories about President Trump.
If you can convince the lowest white man he is better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pockets. He'll give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you. Lyndon B. Johnson.
News just into CNN. President-elect Trump just agreed to settle a lawsuit for $25 million. We talked about Trump University a lot during the campaign and how it could be a massive problem for the Trump administration. People who attended the Trump-branded school, you may remember, claimed that they were sold a bill of goods and that they were lied to. The president-elect had filed appeal after appeal, insisting that he did not defraud people who attended Trump U. But now, and again just minutes ago, in a press release, the Attorney General announced the president-elect had agreed to $25 million settlement for the more than 6,000 victims. Trump will also pay up to $1 million in penalties to the state of New York for violating state education laws. All this according to the statement.
At Trump University, we teach success. It's going to happen to you.
Years before Donald Trump became president of the United States, he was promoting his Trump University, making a lot of promises.
I think the biggest step towards success is going to be sign up at Trump University.
I think he's a snake oil salesman. I think he's a con artist.
Fort Lauderdale attorney Sherry Simpson took the bait, and like thousands of former Trump students and the New York Attorney General's office, she says it was a total fraud.
Trump U wasn't a university, didn't provide any of the information that was promised.
Trump University.
So it was disgusting to solicit funds from the elderly, to ask people to utilize credit cards to pay him, to not to buy a property, but to pay him for the privilege of learning nothing.
Simpson was one of 6,000 victims who settled with Trump for $25 million. Now she's set to get about $15,000 of the $19,000 she lost back. But she wants to turn down that money so she can sue the sitting president individually.
I want an apology from Donald Trump.
Well, have you ever heard of Donald Trump?
If you can convince the lowest white man he is better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pockets. He'll give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you. Lyndon B. Johnson.
Donors are told that contributions go to medical charities, but Juliana Goldman found that some of it has gone to care for Trump's legal ills.
At a 2010 charity golf tournament at this Trump Westchester golf course, Martin Greenberg thought he'd won $1 million when he had a hole-in-one. But the insurance company that was supposed to pay out balked, saying the tee was set up wrong. Greenberg sued the tournament sponsor, the charity of former NBA player Alonzo Mourning, and Trump's club. Trump's campaign says to help pay for the resulting settlement, Trump donated lifetime memberships at his golf courses. They were auctioned through an online charity website that said proceeds would benefit the Donald J. Trump Foundation and Mourning's charity. The winner was still required to pay $1,500 monthly dues. Florida doctor Stephen Shapiro had the winning bid. He's listed as donating $157,250 to the Trump Foundation on their tax forms. Months later, the Trump Foundation cut a check for $158,000 to Martin Greenberg's foundation, which got the settlement money. Marcus Owens ran the charity section at the IRS and said raising money for one charity to give to another for a settlement could be problematic.
That was a But this morning, Eric Trump is defending his charitable foundation against accusations he was self-dealing to the Trump organization.
How the Trump paid their businesses with charitable money. In 2009 and 2010, outside donors wrote checks. The Donald J. Trump Foundation totaled $1.1 million. The president gave none of his own money, but that didn't stop him from doling out the cash. In 2010, he gave $100K to his son's charity with the explicit intent of offsetting costs. The same year, 3 Trump Organization employees joined the board of directors at the Eric Trump Foundation. Eric Trump Foundation Board of Directors, family members 2. Employees 6. Business partners 1. Others 8. Trump demanded that the nonprofit Eric Trump founded pay his for-profit business for the events at Trump National Golf Club, according to 2 people directly involved. Eric Foundation differently paid his dad's company. The money came from donors who presumptively thought they were giving to charities, not providing revenues for Donald Trump. The Eric Trump Foundation declined comments on the donations. In effect, though, his maneuver appeared to more in line with a drug cartel than a charitable business.
$16.3 million for the greatest hospital in the world, that's St. Jude. And I get attacked for it.
Forbes magazine reports hundreds of thousands of dollars in charity expenses went to the Trump family business, despite Eric saying many of the costs would be covered by the Trumps.
So we're able to come up with this concept of raising a lot of money with really no expense. And again, it's because we were incurring the expenses at the assets. We were taking on the expense as Trump. We were using our own facilities.
In question, why the golf invitational expenses ballooned from $59,000 in 2012 to $230,000 the next year and $242,000 in 2014. The IRS filings don't list what they spent the money on, just a bulk amount. ABC News has learned the foundation raised more than $1 million each of those years for St. Jude, but their biggest haul was 2012, when their expenses were the lowest.
The accounting here is not clear at all, which makes it very difficult to see what they were actually paying.
But he gives it to St. Jude's, so I'm very proud of Eric Trump.
Forbes says problems started with the charity when Donald Trump allegedly demanded the foundation be charged for using the facilities.
Donald came in and said, you know what? We're going to start billing you guys. Even though this is a charity event, even though this is for Kids for Cancer, we want you guys to pay.
Now, Eric Trump has also released a statement. We want to put it on the screen now.
If you can convince the lowest white man he is better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pockets. He'll give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you. Lyndon B. Johnson.